Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I literally just recorded this. Okay, so the whole point of this video was to talk about this new card, Death Touch, and what we think the different tokens are going to mean and the card and everything else. We're still going to talk about that. However, literally the second I hit upload, and it was going to upload 15 minutes from now, 10:45 a.m. on February 3rd, we get a spoiler, like a freaking undercover spoiler basically in Flesh and Blood community on what Blood Rot Pot tokens, one of the tokens of the 3 tokens you can make on the card, is. So I'm redoing the video and we're going to talk about what that token was and if I was right, which I was right, not to the very T, but basically what it was. But Blood Rot Pot probably was the easiest one. Anyway, in Flesh and Blood, they put out an article on their Twitter, or a post linking to a website, the Pro Tour website, where in April, 1 month after the Outsiders release, Pro Tour Baltimore will be taking place, but also the Calling Baltimore will be taking place at the same time, same place. The Calling is an open event that anyone can join. If you buy their gold package, or like most of their packages, you get access to all of this stuff. So Crown of Providence playmat, the Crown of Providence sleeves, which is amazing that anyone can get those. 3 of the entries, 2 entries in the side events, 1 entry in the player reception. But then they also had this promo card you can see here in the bottom right called Death Touch, which is basically an outsider spoiler in the Pro Tour pack, which is pretty insane. So looking at it, right, as we look in here, this is the card that was spoiled. So Death Touch. As you can see, really, if we go back and look one more time, as you can see, it looks like we're going to get different cards just based off the artwork. So it doesn't look like it's a rainbow. But we'll get this card called Death Touch. And let's talk about Death Touch for a second. We'll talk about the tokens, the card itself, some interactions you can have with it, and then also talk about the thing that was just spoiled. So Death Touch is an Assassin Ranger attack action, so hybrid card attack action. Attacks for 6, blocks for 2, costs 1 to play. The artwork is amazing. It's just freaking sick. I love the aesthetic. I love the difference in aesthetic that Flesh and Blood has taken over the last few sets, from Aria to Everfest to Dynasty to Uprising to this now. Like, it's just super awesome. Anyway, 1 for 6. Like, let's talk about just the card itself and the power, and not even counting the on hits, right? 1 for 6 is very above rate in Flesh and Blood. There's very few cards that can hit that mark. When it comes to that, like, you have, I think it's Savage Swing with Brute, where based off Tunic, you could discard a card and play this as a 1 for 6 essentially, or 1 for 7. Savage Swing is. Then you have Wartune Herald and Prism, which was insanely broken because it basically got Go Again. It was a 1 for 7, I think. So very few cards hit that mark, but this card definitely is above rate as far as an attack action. It does only block for 2, as it should. Does not have Go Again. But just the fact that it's a 1 for 6, and we'll talk about some of the interactions it has, it's very above rate. It only can be played, it can't be played from hand. So it's either going to be played from Arsenal, or maybe played from Banished, or played from Graveyard. Who knows if we have other interactions like that. But right now, without knowing other interactions, because it doesn't have Blood Debt, right now we can assume it only can be played from Arsenal. Talking about the three things it says when it hits a hero, create a Frailty, Inertia, or Blood Rot Pox token under their control, and we'll talk about that here in a second. One thing I want to talk about was some of the card interactions that this card can have. We have 3 cards here that I picked out. They're all Ranger cards. I will say, without knowing the card pool, and we'll get into that in a second, the card pool is definitely going to expand for Assassin, and the archetype for Assassins are going to expand, because right now, like, this type of card really actually doesn't fit super well into Arachne the way Arachne is built right now. Arachne is very much off contract, focuses about contract, and this card doesn't have contracts. So you can't peek, you can't banish off the top, unless you could give it contract some way. It just doesn't fit into what Arachne is trying to do right now. It is very above rate, but it doesn't block for 3. You probably could put this into an Arachne deck and it would be fine as a 3 of, but honestly not as good. It can't be buffed off Cut to the Chase because it doesn't have the word contract in it. So overall, not as much of an Arachne card, in my opinion, until they show us a new archetype, which they're going to. However, some of the Ranger attacks that it fits really well in, because Ranger naturally wants to play from Arsenal anyway. Ranger has a lot of reload. We have 3 cards here. The number 1 card they can go with is the one on the far right, which is Take Aim. Take Aim reads the next Ranger attack action card, not arrow. You play this turn, gains +3. and it gets reload. So if you play Take Aim, reload in Deft Touch, and then off Tunic, you can play Deft Touch essentially 1 for 9 on hit, create one of those tokens. Really good value, really above rate, insanely good card. So definitely something that's possible. Poison the Tips is another cool one. Play Poison the Tips, reload it, attack it 1 for 6 on hit, discard a card, and create one of these tokens. Forces interaction from your opponent, right? And then finally, like cards like Bolt and Shot, any card that has reload, Overflex, Knock the Death Whistle, even shoot. Definitely a lot of cards that can manipulate this card down into Arsenal very easily and be able to be played very consistently. So definitely something to think about. I think it fits really well into what Azalea wants to do. Maybe if she wants to be a little bit more control based, especially with cards like Death Dealer, already allowing you to draw a card and then be able to arsenal this. It also might make New Horizon more viable for Azalea. Who knows? Because you put this card face down arsenal with a face up card or something like that in your turn, and then be able to play out like multiple attacks. If you have some attacks with Go Again, definitely some like different interactions you probably could do just off the top of my head. So let's talk about the tokens. So when I just made this video, I'll say what my predictions were, and then we'll look at what Bloodrot Pox is. So my predictions were Frailty. I think all of these are going to pop on the end step or end phase of your opponent, which, looking at the spoiler we're about to look at next, I was pretty correct in that statement, at least initially for Bloodrot Pox. But Frailty, I thought would be, for when I think the Frailty, I think like you're frail when you're going up against an opponent, right? So my thought is you give someone a Frailty token, then during their attack phase, or when they attack, let's say they attack with a Scarf or a Scarf for 4. If it's coming in for 4, if you block with a card from hand, so you are challenging them, it will give it -1 attack on the defense step or something like that. So Scarf comes in for 4, you block it with a 3 block, it's now blocking for 3, and you prevented the 1 point of damage, right? So it's going to help prevent breakpoints. I think that could be really cool, and I think that's where I think Frailty is going. That's my personal prediction. For Inertia, I think it's going to have to do with going wide or action points. I think it's going to prevent you to be... When I think Inertia, I think like going forward, moving forward, progressing forward. So I think it's going to help combat go wide. And with Frailty help combating like high attack heroes, Inertia would help combat go wide heroes. And since you can pick one of these tokens, you're picking it based off of your plane. I think since it's going to go against what Frailty is, or the opposite of what Frailty is, I think it goes with a go wide hero. And then finally, Bloodrot Pox. So my initial prediction for Bloodrot Pox was... at their end phase, it would deal them damage like poison, right? Now, I thought is there going to be a way to prevent that poison, or is this going to be straight up? I did say I think there is going to be a way to prevent it, because otherwise it would just be broken. You just block out, create Bloodrot Pox, and you essentially like kill someone, and they can't do nothing about it. So I hit in record with those 3 predictions, asked what y'all's thoughts were, blah, blah, blah. Go and open my Discord, and because I have official spoilers linked in one of my, if you want to join the Discord, it's really good. Links all the official spoilers that come out through Flesh and Blood, just like the main Discord does. And we got this. So I'll take it off here. Give me 1 second. So we got one giant picture with all 3, but it's really blurry, really scoffed. So I sectioned it off into 3 and then blew it up so it's easier to read. But this is Bloodrot Pox. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy Bloodrot Pox. It deals 2 damage to you unless you pay 3. So unless someone pays a blue, you deal 2 damage. So if you can stack 2 Bloodrot Pox in a turn, I mean, you're gonna get pretty nuts here, right? So basically, if Death Touch hits, and then they can't pay for that blue, can't pay with a blue at the end of their turn, Death Touch essentially is a 1 for 8 on Bloodrot Pox. Really, really nuts. The artwork is gnarly. But we were pretty much right on Bloodrot Pox, which is kind of cool to see. My thought was, is there going to be a way to combat it? And making someone pay 3, that's a lot. They basically have to hold a blue in hand in order to, like, it's going to hurt their turn so bad, right? Like even Katsu, right? If I have a blue and 3 attack actions, I basically can't use my Kodachis if I want to prevent 2 damage. And then the other thing is, like, when you think about just rate, right, like most blues, not all blues, but most blues are block 3 in a lot of decks. So, like, are you going to pay 3 block worth of resources to prevent 2 damage, right? Most people are probably just going to take this until it's late game. So you're going to be able to really hurt your opponent really easily. So that's the token. Another part of the picture was this, which is, again, scoffed, but it was like a makeshift picture. It's called Infect. It's assassin attack action in common. I'm assuming it's going to be 3, 2, and 1, but it has stealth, which I think stealth is going to be played from Arsenal. Personally, when it hits a hero, create a Blood Rot's Pox token under their control, right? So, like, if you're able to stack this with another attack with Blood Rot Pox, maybe give it go again somehow, being able to, essentially stack those tokens and deal 4 damage, right? Because, like, if you think about it, if this card hits, let's say you just don't block it, and you can't pay for Blood Rot at the end of your turn, this is basically a 0 for 5, which is really good. But it is a 3 block as well, which is pretty common in the assassin cards. And then finally, we have the other part of the big picture, which was Spike with Blood Rot. Target attack action card with stealth gains +3, and when it hits a hero, create a Blood Rot Pox token under their control. I think stealth is going to be Uziri's ability, personally. I don't think they're going to rework. It might be under Arachne's new Blitz ability, but I think it's going to be Uziri's ability, personally. I think it's going to be played from Arsenal. When something's played from Arsenal, it gains stealth or something like that. Personally, I think that could be a really cool thing. Because, like, you have cards like this that spike with Blood Rot. Target attack action card with stealth gains +3. I think Uziri's ability is, if it's played from Arsenal, like it's sneaky, it's going to gain stealth. So, you could essentially play any card, right? It might even be assassin card, right? It's like, let's say you play, I don't know, a Leave No Witnesses from Arsenal. It gains stealth with Uziri's ability, and then you're able to give it +3. So it's coming 0 for 7. Off spiked with Blood Rot, right? It is attack reaction as well. So I think that'd be really cool. But overall, like, I'm glad that we were correct on Blood Rot for the most part. Like, paying 3 is pretty nuts. So let me know what you think of this. It's really cool. Super excited for this set as a whole. Like, just insanely, hyped for the set. To see what kind of comes out and comes of this. Definitely some cool new interactions with the game. We'll have to see how this affects certain heroes. I like this because I think that this is the type of strategy that I think Flesh and Blood, like when I think control in some card games, I think of like removal and stuff like that. In Flesh and Blood, when I think of control, I think of like weakening your opponent, whittling them down, right? Like slowly draining their life force. That, like, decking them out like with mill, but not like insane mill, just like casual. Like, that's what I think of when I think of Flesh and Blood. So I'm really glad that they're going down this route. I hope it works out. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. If you want to join the Discord down below, please do. Please, if you like, comment, subscribe on this if you want. And let me know what you think of the cards. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.